All right. Wow. And looking at my clock here, I can see that the time is now 7:30 local time in LA. So I think we're gonna get started, and people will be streaming in. We're gonna start off with a nigun, so you all don't need to worry about the words here. It's a lie situation. So let's make sure that everybody is please on mute, so you can all sing along and not have to worry about interference. And please join me. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya 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 la And we'll be singing another welcoming song for Shabbat, a song that we like to sing for sharing a sacred space together, Ma Tovu, which you'll find on page 4. Ma Tovu halach Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma Tovu halach Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani beroch hastecha, avo veitecha, eshtachaveh el heichal kodshecha, ve'yiratecha. Va'tovu halach Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'tovu halach Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome and Shabbat Shalom. So good to have you here joining us all together on Zoom and to see everybody's faces. As you may have noticed, Rabbi Rick isn't here tonight, so I'll be leading our service. Ma Tovu, we just sang together. How divine are your tents, O Jacob, your holy dwellings, O Israel. Even though we are not together in the sanctuary tonight, it is such a blessing to be able to share our sacred space here virtually together from all over, where I imagine some of you may have traveled for Thanksgiving and being somewhere different for the weekend, as you may have noticed that I am. And it's so great to be here together. So welcome. We're going to continue our service with Lecha Dodi, the song that we sing based on the writings from some of our sages living in the 16th century or so in Tzfat, a song that they would like to sing to welcome the Sabbath as a bride. This is a version of Lecha Dodi that many of you have heard before. This is one of my originals, and we'll put the words on the screen for you. If you're following along at home, you can find it on page 5. Lecha Dodi likar kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor v'nibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, V'shem u'tiferet v'lithilah. Lecha Dodi likar kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likar kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. So if you'll please stand up and turn towards your doorways to greet the Sabbath bride as she enters the door. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha u'sohola, toch evunei yam segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha Dodi likar kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likar kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. And one of the ways that we know that Shabbat is here, as we've greeted the bride, is to now fully enter into Shabbat by lighting the candles for Shabbat. And for this honor, I'd like to welcome Todd and Roberta Frankel, who are going to lead us in an opening into our candle lighting. If you'll please go ahead and lead those readings. Thank you.
Thank you, Cantor.
Yes.
Light is the symbol of God's creative goodness, an outward sign of the inner spark God has placed within each of us.
Light is the symbol of wisdom, of knowledge, and of truth. It reminds us of our commitment to God's commandments.
Light is the symbol of warmth and unity. It binds us together with Jews in all lands who kindle the Sabbath lights as we do now.
In joy and peace, in sanctity, and in remembrance, may the Sabbath lights we now kindle continue to burn forth in our hearts and our souls.
Beautiful. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you, Todd and Roberta. And as is our custom and the custom of many people around the world, we like to share in family blessings. And whether your family is with you right now or was with you last night for Thanksgiving, or just with you in your hearts and minds right now, please join me with our family blessing. May God bless you and keep you. May He shine His face upon you and grace you. May He lift His presence unto you and grant you peace. May God bless you and keep you. May she shine her face upon you and grace you. May she lift her presence unto you and grant you peace. And grant you peace. Shabbat Shalom. I want to take this moment to ask if anyone would like to take this moment for an honors opportunity for some reading, just to be able to spread it out among everybody here. So would anyone like to volunteer? We have a reading on page 13 called We Thank You, very fitting given we just came out of Thanksgiving yesterday. Would anyone like to lead us in the English reading? Anybody? Seth, wonderful, wonderful. So Seth, will I have you unmute? Please lead us in the reading.
We thank you, God, for the gift of life. We thank you for the miracle of each new day, the sunrise and sunset, the moon and the stars. We thank you for the blessings of family and friends, for all these miracles in our world. Am I continuing here? Adonai, our God, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you for leading us, Seth. We're going to continue now with the watchword of our people, the Shema. So if you would like to rise during this, you're welcome to, or you can feel free to stay seated if you're more comfortable that way. But please join me with Shema. Shema Yisrael And I want to take this opportunity to invite, if anybody feels inclined, like if you know the Ve'ahavta really well, if you'd like to take the opportunity to chant it for everybody, would anybody like to have the honors for Ve'ahavta? Maggie, wonderful, great. Please, and we're gonna be together on page 15 for the Ve'ahavta. Please, Maggie, go ahead.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Thank you so much, Maggie. Wonderful to have you lead that. So we're going to continue now. You can find our next prayer on page 16 in our Siddur. We're continuing with Micha Mocha, the prayer of redemption that our ancestors sang as they crossed over the Sea of Reeds on dry land. So please join me with this one, Micha Mocha. I want to take a moment right now to, I'm going to turn to gallery view so I can see everybody here. I want to take a moment to take a poll here because it's a really wonderful opportunity we have here coming out of Thanksgiving last night, starting into Hanukkah just over this weekend, the end of this weekend, since it starts on sundown on just the Sunday night. I want to take a moment and have everybody think of some of your favorite holiday memories. So whether that's from Thanksgiving, from Hanukkah, or from others, just take a moment and think about some of those favorite holiday memories. And just out of curiosity, I want to see by a show of hands, or if you can put in the chat, How many of you thought of something that has become tradition in one way or another that you think of as a tradition from the holidays? Does anybody think of a holiday tradition when you think of one of your favorite memories from the holidays? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods. Okay. Yeah, seeing some hands. Okay. Holiday traditions. Tradition, as they say in Fiddler, right? Tradition. Um, so I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about some traditions for Hanukkah, and we can think of these a little bit in terms of other holidays that come into our lives as well. Some holiday traditions for Hanukkah that may be little known, and I came across these through an article. So I'm actually going to put the article in the chat here if any of you are interested in checking it out. But I'm going to highlight the main ideas that come from this article. But first of all, I want to mention that Hanukkah was always considered a minor holiday. But I think it's this time of year when we bring warmth and light into our homes and lives that some of our traditions may come the most alive. That we think of these lights and Shabbat candles burning beautifully in the frame from the Frankels is a beautiful reminder as well. But light and warmth, those are things that really stick with us in the winter holiday season, even if we are in Southern California. So I want to talk about some of these traditions from around the world that may be little known because there's such beautiful, wonderful diversity from Jewish communities across the whole world. And some of these Hanukkah traditions maybe you've heard of before, but some of them, maybe many of them, or all of them, you might not have. So I think it's a beautiful opportunity to learn about this. So number one on the My Jewish Learning site was hanging the Hanukiah on the wall next to the Mezuzah. Has anybody heard of this one before? Hanging a menorah, Hanukiah, on the wall outside your home. Some people do this. So this is a popular tradition in Morocco, Algeria, and other Jewish communities from North Africa. So apparently this tradition traces back to Talmud Shabbat Tractate 22a, and the idea from it is to surround oneself in the mitzvot. You have a mitzvah of putting the Mezuzah up on your doorpost, and then you also have the mitzvah of lighting the Hanukiah during this holiday. So the second one is, and this one might be, maybe some of you have heard of this one. I think it's an interesting one. Making a Hanukiah out of potatoes. Has anybody ever heard of this one before? Hanukiah out of potatoes. We know we use potatoes for latkes, right? So many of us like to fry latkes up for Hanukkah. Some people in, especially in Romania, Austria, and other Jewish communities from Central Europe. And this tradition likely was due to economic struggles, or I imagine a paucity of supplies. If they didn't have people making beautiful Hanukiahs. I'm sure many of us have heirloom Hanukiahs or ones that we've had for many, many, many years, beautiful ones out of all different kinds of materials. Some people even collect them over time. And, you know, the more Hanukiahs you can light and you bring in more light during the season. But that's one tradition. And they would scrape out the insides and fill each well with oil and a wick. And that would do the trick. So I guess if you're ever lacking for a Hanukiah and you're in a pinch and you happen to have potatoes, I guess that's one way you could make sure you're still observing the mitzvah of lighting the menorah, lighting the Hanukiah for Hanukkah. So the third one is lighting an extra shemage. Has anybody ever heard of this one before? An extra shemage. So this tradition comes from Sephardic Jews from Aleppo, many of whom had escaped the Inquisition. So various explanations on this one talk about honoring God's divine intervention to keep them safe. If you can imagine coming out of the Inquisition, which many people did not, very dangerous time to be Jewish. So I think that was one of the explanations. Some others nod to it as, talk about it as a nod toward non-Jews of Aleppo who welcome them as refugees, because we know not every country is always so welcoming refugees. So I'm sure many of us have heard of the Jewish community of Aleppo, fairly well known, I think. So that's a beautiful Sephardic tradition that they would light an extra shamash each night. The next one I think some people have heard of, because this one's popular in Israel and especially Jerusalem. Glass boxes displaying the Hanukiah outside. Has anybody seen or heard of this one? The glass boxes? I know Seth has, yeah. So this one is especially common in Jerusalem and elsewhere in Israel, and it's traced back from Talmud Shabbat Tractate 21b that the Hanukkah lamps need to be placed outside the entrance of one's home for all to see. But if you imagine putting lit candles outside, or even whether they're candles or whether they're oil lamps, either way, the wind's going to be blowing, especially in the wintertime, right? So since those winters can become cold and windy, the glass boxes help to keep those flames intact. So that's a tradition that evolved out of that tractate from the Talmud, and it's very popular in Israel, and I think anywhere that Israeli Jews have also spread, and maybe they've brought the tradition with them in some places. Now, this one I had not heard about before. Has anybody ever heard of Hag Habanot? Hag Habanot. This is a special one. I think it's really cool. So this one is a celebration of women. So I'm going to name a lot of countries here. This is popular in Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Morocco, Greece, and Yemen. And it's also known in Judeo-Arabic as Eid al-Banat. So it literally means holiday of the daughters, festival of the daughters. So it's celebrated on Rosh Chodesh Tevet, which falls on the 6th night of Hanukkah. And if you're doing the math, you might see that will fall on our next Friday night, actually, because the first night's Sunday, if you do the math. Next Friday night, it would be Hag Habanot. So girls and women refrain from work, which I guess they would do anyways for Shabbat, but and they would gather to recount stories of Jewish heroines, and particularly Judith. Now, Judith's story sometimes does come up during Hanukkah. If anybody knows the story of Judith, right? She was a heroine who she enticed the Assyrian general Holofernes into her tent and fed him wine and cheese so that he would fall asleep. And then in his sleep, she killed him. So that particular general couldn't lead his forces against the Jewish people. So actually, in honor of Judith, some people actually have the tradition of making fried cheese for Hanukkah. If you haven't tried fried cheese for Hanukkah, maybe this would be the opportunity to do that. And actually, traditionally, some people say that latkes, before they became potato pancakes, some people say that they used to be like fried cheese pancakes or fried cheese in honor of Judith. So if you want to bring that tradition back, Hag Habanot might certainly be a great opportunity for that. The next one, some of you may like a lot. I think the idea is very nice. Neighborhood wine tastings. I think you can guess which country this was popular in France, and the Jewish community in Avignon, but especially in southern France, which is renowned for its wineries. So their tradition with this is the Saturday night after Shabbat ends, Jewish communities would gather to open new bottles of local wine in their homes and make toasts to the miracle of Hanukkah. And then they would go around the neighborhood to share wines chosen by their neighbors. So it's a party that continues on through the night, and everyone gets to share and partake of wine together as a community. It sounds like a beautiful tradition. The next one is no melachot near the Hanukiah. So the melachot are the things that are forbidden to do during a Chag or during Shabbat. Things that are considered, like working or creating something new, lighting flames, stuff like that. So that's a tradition among North African, Middle Eastern, and Haredi Ashkenazi Jews that only as long as the Hanukiah is lit, which is not forever, right? But women would refrain from doing the type of work forbidden on Shabbat and Chagim. And this was codified by Ashkenazi and Sephardic leaders long ago, pre-electricity. So of course that's been a tradition for a pretty long time. And the next ones, I think some of you may have heard of before. Has anybody heard of the 9th night of Hanukkah, of people celebrating one extra night? Maybe, no? So the interesting thing is, well, this is a particular tradition in a particular community, especially, I would suppose. But some people actually also just like to keep lighting afterwards. I've heard of other traditions that do this. And if anyone feels a little bit bittersweet about 8 nights being over and wanting to still light your Hanukiah and keep bringing light in, you can still take that opportunity, I suppose. Some people light it in, you're counting up to 8 nights and until you have a full Hanukiah, and some people like to count down until it's empty again. So some people do that, but this is actually popular in some parts of Morocco, and Jewish children would go around house to house collecting leftover candle wicks to create a communal bonfire, where there was singing, dancing, and sometimes jumping over the fire, which was said to bring luck and even fertility. So that's the 9th night of Hanukkah. And so these are just 8 traditions that you may not have heard of before. I thought it was really cool learning from this article to see that there are so many beautiful, wonderful traditions all around the world and for many, many, many years. And I want to take this opportunity, actually, if you'd like to share in the chat, or if you maybe want to unmute, if anybody wants to share your favorite Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, or other traditions, I thought this would be a beautiful moment that we could share. What are some of your favorite traditions? Or if you heard any of these traditions that I just read off and you think that sounds like something I'd like to do, if you'd like to share anything about that. So if you want to do that in the chat now, or if you'd like to raise your hand, if you'd like to unmute, now would be the time if we want to share a little bit about some of our favorite traditions. Yeah, Flo.
The one I missed most this year and last year was the community Hanukkah party that
Absolutely.
Sisterhood does every year. To be able to sit with the room with all the Hanukiahs going on all the tables, and the brisket that was made by the volunteers, and the latkes and our campership serving. It's such a wonderful communal event.
It sounds beautiful. Well, we still are going to have a Hanukkah Friday night service next
Right.
week. So we'll still have, and the fifth grade is going to help us lead that. So we're still going to have many Hanukiahs lit. Hanukiah are going to be lit up there. And we're going to
beautiful.
sing a couple Hanukkah songs. It might not be quite the same, though. So I agree. That's a beautiful tradition. Anybody else want to share some of your favorite holiday traditions? It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving or Hanukkah, but it can be if you'd like to think about that. Yeah, Seth.
Somebody asked me last night if my family ever did a Hanukkah bush. And I cracked up because we did one, but as a mock for people who had who did a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
We would just pick a house plant and declare it to be the Hanukkah bush for this year. Sure. And you know, and we all, you know, even when my sister and I were little, we knew that there was no validity or no Jewish basis for a Hanukkah bush. And, you know, sometimes we'd move it to another plant in the middle of the week and, you know, whatever.
Well, that sounds cool. There's nothing wrong with appreciating a plant, even if it's not the same. Anybody else have a favorite tradition we want to share with everybody? You can put it in the chat if you're not comfortable to unmute. Anybody else? I'll share one of my favorites for Hanukkah. One of my favorite traditions in my family was we would get together at my aunt's house and have all the extended cousins came together, including my cousins from New York. We would all come together here in Chicago, and we would exchange gifts together and we would always have a little dreidel competition. And I remember my aunt always had these funky glasses, like one of those like, I don't know what to call them. They have a little filter or something on them, and every light that you look at turns into a Jewish star. Does anybody know what those are called? Okay, yes, Maggie's got them. Wait, I'm gonna spotlight you for a second, Maggie, so everybody can see that. Yes, those are the glasses. Those are the ones I'm talking about. So my aunt always had those at her house, and so we would always put those on and look at the Hanukiah as the candles were burning, especially depending on how many nights it was. If there were more candles, you could see all those beautiful little lights turning into Jewish stars. It was always really cool to see that, and just to share time together with my family, because my cousins didn't come in from New York that often, but it was always great to see them during the winter season. All right. Well, I want you to keep thinking about it. If you want to keep thinking about some of your favorite traditions from growing up, or from now, or from over the years. Okay. Elizabeth saying Aunt's fried ricotta donuts. Now that's definitely in keeping with the story of Judith and the sufganiyot. So that's a beautiful tradition. I love it. If you want to keep them coming in the chat, you can. We're going to continue on in just a bit here. So I want to share a song, a Shabbat song, but also a song that's relevant to the holiday that we just celebrated last night, many of us. So that would be obviously Thanksgiving that we celebrated. So I want to share with you, Thanksgiving is definitely very well ingrained into our Jewish traditions. And this is a song called Tov Lehodot. It is good to give thanks, is what it literally means. And this is something that is traditional for Shabbat, actually, for every Shabbat, to give thanks to God, to sing to your name most high. That's what the words are saying in Hebrew, and there's some English in here too. So we're going to put the words up on the screen for you. And this is Tov Lehodot. It's from Psalm 92. Tov Lehodot Ladonai, Uzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Tov Lehodot Ladonai, Uzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. On this the day of days, thy lips shall sing your praise, for I know that you'll always be here surrounding me. Tov lehodot Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. My spirit takes release. I close my eyes in peace, and from my soul heard far above springs a song of love. Tov lehodot Ladonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Ladonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. I wish to understand the wonders of your hand, for all the blessings that are mine rise from your design. Tov lehodot Ladonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Ladonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. At this time, I want to take the opportunity to invite you all into a moment of silent prayer and silent contemplation. Whether you want to take a look, if you have a copy of the Siddur, if you want to look through there, you can, but I invite you to just sit in peace a little bit and speak the words from your heart and mind. We'll put up an inspiring picture for you to look at, and please take a couple moments here to reflect. If you still need a few moments in prayer or silent reflection, contemplation, I want to invite you to please continue to do that. For the rest of us, if you're ready, we're going to continue on with one of our evening time prayers, a prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, abundant peace. And here we have a song I've shared with you all here before. It's a song by a couple of friends of mine. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Al Tasim Le'olam are the Hebrew words, and then we have grant us peace all over the earth. Bless us in every season, bless us in every moment. And it goes in a round. So if you do catch on and you want to sing a different part than I'm singing at a given time, please feel free to do that. We're going to actually put up the music on the screen so you actually can see that too if you want to look at the music. And please join me. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Grant us peace all over the earth. Grant us peace all over the earth. Bless us in every season. Bless us in every moment. Bless us in every season. Bless us in every moment. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Grant us peace all over the earth. Grant us peace all over the earth. Bless us in every season. Bless us in every moment. Bless us in every season. Bless us in every moment. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Well, now is the moment in our service where we want to offer our prayers of healing to those who may need it. So I'm gonna start us off with the first verse of Misha Berach, but as I'm going along, if you want to feel free to put people's names in the chat, people who you want to send those healing thoughts and prayers out to, you can start doing that now. And we're also, of course, going to read our list that Jason's going to put up on the screen. So please join me. You can find this on page 22 or here on your screen. Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Le'imoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Okay, I can see the names are coming through the chat. Please keep them coming. We want to send out our healing prayers to everyone that we may know. We send our healing prayers to our Misha Berach list, all of these members, all these family members, and all of these friends and co-workers we're holding in our hearts for our Misha Berach prayer. Feel free to continue putting names in the chat. And we're going to continue on with the second verse of Misha Berach. Misha Berach Imoteinu Mekor HaBracha La'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shleima, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. all have a swift and full recovery. Amen. So now is the time in our service where we think about those who are no longer with us, and we want to keep them in our minds and in our hearts tonight, as always. So this is going to be our Kaddish prayer. You can find it on page 24. We're going to put it up on the screen for you all. And I'm going to take a quick moment actually to put a little line in the chat so we can distinguish between the Kaddish names and the Mishaberach names, just for clarity's sake. And please, if you want to put the names in of someone that you're in mourning for, please, in just a moment, I'll invite you to do that. We're going to first take a moment to read through the Kaddish list, and Jason's going to put that up on the screen. So tonight and this week, our Kaddish prayer is said for Stephen Snitzer, Anita Honey Barr, Joan Kefel Ettlinger, Janet Jeffries, Jennifer Woody, Nancy Lord, Barbara Bolter, Sandra Gainan, Charlotte Hellman, Sylvia Miller, Karen Ness, Fred Michaels, Linda Luna, Dr. C. Harold Cohn, Barbara Abraham, and Ernestine Erkin. And of course, for those who are observing a yahrzeit, we say our Kaddish prayer tonight for Mark Greffison, Edna Cooper, Eugene Jamin, Janice Ring, Eleanor Schwartz, Chaya Treiter-Kistenberg, Esther Weiner, Major Maurice Berger, Sadie Dover, David Galante, Ludwig Jacob, Vitaly Kaufman, Benjamin Levin, Max Lewis, Louis Lieberman, George Michaels, Sonia Mitchelson, Isidore Mastrow. And if there's anyone who is currently in mourning or observing a yahrzeit for anybody whose name was not on that list, please put their names in the chat. We've got Ann Johnson, Pet Natividad. Anybody else want to add any names to our Kaddish prayer tonight? Feel free to continue putting them in the chat. We've got Brian Parkinson. And Harry C. And as we always do as a community, we want to stand together as a community in recognition of all these names and all the others that we may be keeping in mind in our hearts, in our minds. Please join me in the Kaddish prayer. Yit gadal ve'yit kadash shemei rabba. Ve'alma divrach chirutei ve'amlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon uchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru. Amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach le'alam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shumei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. And may the source of peace bring peace to all those who are in mourning, and may we as a community bring comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say amen. So as always, we like to conclude our Kaddish prayer with Oseh Shalom, a prayer for peace, if you'll join me at the bottom of the page. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. at this moment, I'd like to invite board member Larry Cohen to give us our announcements for tonight.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And I want to thank the cantor for leading such a beautiful, personal, and thoughtful service tonight. And I want to thank the participants of our service this evening, Todd and Roberta Frankel for lighting the Shabbat candles, Seth Chazanoff for his reading, and Maggie Fried for the chanting of the Ve'ahavta. Coming up at Temple Sinai this week, we have Hanukkah. The first night to light candles is this Sunday, which is really close to Thanksgiving. It's Hanukkah in November. And next Friday, be sure to bring your favorite Hanukiah to the temple and join us in the sanctuary for our Hanukkah celebration and our family Shabbat service, starting at the earlier time of 7 p.m. You'll find full details about this and much more in Sunday's email blast, which will be sent to you through the efforts of our office administrator, Azo Kachaturian, our project and accounting manager, Susan Hain, and our brilliant communications manager, Jason Marks. I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and a good weekend.
Thank you, Larry. So we still have one more song, and I think this will be a familiar one to many of you. Some of you may know my penchant for including songs that are relevant in some way to the weekly parasha. And so this week's parasha actually has the introduction of Joseph. And if you're a musical theater fan, you may be familiar with a little musical called Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And just as we are coming to the beginning of Joseph's story in the Torah, this is a song that is sung at the beginning of that musical. And it's called Any Dream Will Do. I think it's a beautiful time to be coming right out of Thanksgiving, entering into Hanukkah pretty soon in the next couple days, and thinking about Joseph and dreams. I think it's a wonderful connection. So we're going to put the words up on the screen for you, and please feel free to sing along at home. Any dream will do. I close my eyes, drew back the curtain to see for certain what I thought I knew. Far, far away, someone was weeping, but the world was sleeping. Any dream will do. I wore my coat with golden lining, bright colors shining, wonderful and new. And in the east, the dawn was breaking, and the world was waking. Any dream will do. A crash of drums, a flash of light, my golden coat flew out of sight. The colors faded into darkness, I was left alone. May I return to the beginning? The light is dimming, and the dream is too. The world and I, we are still waiting Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Happy early Hanukkah. So wonderful to have you join us tonight. We're gonna keep the Zoom open for a bit longer for those of you who want to stick around and see each other and schmooze a bit for our virtual oneg and breakout rooms. So please feel free to stick around and talk a little bit. Shabbat Shalom.